All right, in the last episode of The Big Story, we left Moses and the Hebrew people of God having had a special meal and escaped Egypt and the big mean old Pharaoh, running for their lives, heading towards the promised land. As soon as they escape from Egypt, Pharaoh changes his mind again and decides that he wants all of his slaves back. So he gets his whole army and they suit up and they jump in their chariots and onto their horses and they start chasing the people of God as they're running away from Egypt and escaping. The people of God see them, and so they start running faster until eventually they find themselves in an impossible position, because just on the horizon over there is the sea, and they're going to find themselves, unless anybody thinks of something quick, trapped between the sea and the soldiers. The sea and the soldiers. The sea and the soldiers. And the soldiers are getting closer and closer and closer. Panicked as they arrive on the beach, they say to Moses, "Moses, what are we going to do? We're going to die." So Moses prays. And God tells him, "Moses, stretch out your hand over the sea." And Moses, who probably internally is thinking, come on, not another one of these things that I have to do that makes me look stupid. If it doesn't work, God, this is really going to be bad. But on the outward side, he does it. He stretches his hand over the sea. And as he does so, this huge wind blows and the water parts in the middle. And there's two walls of water with the seabed that is now exposed. And all of the people of God can rush over what was the sea. When they get to the other side, Moses withdraws his hand and the sea swallows up all of the soldiers that have been chasing them. The people of God are now free from Egypt. They're going to spend a few more years wandering around in the wilderness. And they start doing that, and very quickly they start to grumble. They start to say things like, you can't grow much in the desert. I mean, they should have known that, right? You can't grow much in the desert. We haven't got any crops. We can't feed ourselves or our family. And so they grumble and they moan and they go to Moses and they say, "We haven't got any food." Another time they say to him, "Moses, I don't know if you noticed, but there's no water in the desert. What are we going to drink?" On both of these occasions, God again does incredible things. Like one time he says, "Well, you're right, you can't get food in the desert. It's notoriously difficult. I'm going to give you food every day." And this mysterious, magical gift of this bread substance appears on the desert floor each morning, and this flock of quail suddenly appear each day, and the people of God eat the quail and the bread substance. Another time Moses strikes a rock with his staff and the water starts coming out of the rock, and you can't get water out of a rock even if you squeeze it really, really hard. These are amazing stories. Parting the waves, walking through the sea, food appearing from nowhere, water appearing from a rock. These are incredible, mind-bending things that make you think, really? But that wasn't how they affected the people of God. The people of God saw them, knew them, experienced them, and held on to them. And in fact, if you read the rest of the Bible, time and time again, they say things in prayer as they're waiting for something else and they're hoping that God would answer them and help them out again. They say things like, "God, you've done it before. You got us out of Egypt. You parted the waves. You gave us food and water. You've done it before. We know you can do incredible things. Do it now." Here's the weird thing. We often think that if God was just to do something big, something impressive, something knock your socks off crazy, that we and everybody else would remember that, notice that, and start to worship God, and we'd find it easier to follow him. But that isn't the case. The Hebrew people start grumbling pretty soon afterwards. They forget about what God has done pretty soon afterwards. They start moaning and looking for other ways to fix their problems rather than turning their eyes towards God pretty soon afterwards. It turns out that actually just disciples faithfully, obediently, day after day showing love is actually a way more impressive sign to everybody about who God is than some of the big stuff he can do. So, now we've got Moses and the whole of the people of God camped out in tents in a desert, asking themselves a question. What are we going to be like as a group of people? How are we going to act? Will we be any different? Can somehow the character of God become the character of us too? And if it could, how would we do that? That's next week.